The stars glittered like cold diamonds against the endless black. Captain Park, Ji-ho stood on the observation deck of the asterisk Eternal Curiosity asterisk, his slender fingers tracing patterns on the transparent viewing panel. Below him, the blue-green sphere of Sol 3. Earth, as the natives called it, rotated slowly on its axis. Beautiful, isn't it? His first officer, Officer Ba, joined him at the window. Primitive, but yes, beautiful in its way, Park replied. He had spent 3 years studying this backwater world, cataloging its species and observing its dominant life form, humans. The Galactic Concordat, the unified government of the 17 spacefaring species, had strict protocols for worlds like Earth. Study, observe, but never interfere. Sol 3 had been classified as a protectorate world for nearly 3 centuries now. Its inhabitants showed promise but remained centuries away from joining the galactic community. The Council wants your final report by tomorrow, Ba reminded him. The research mission ends at dawn. Park nodded. It's nearly finished. Just a few more observations about their mythology. Later that night, Park sat alone in his quarters, finalizing what would eventually become the most infamous xenological report in Concordat history. On his screen, images of human art and literature scrolled past. Paintings of fire-breathing dragons, statues of muscled heroes battling many-headed monsters, tales of gods and demigods performing impossible feats. Computer, add final conclusion, Park said, rubbing his tired eyes. The computer chirped in acknowledgement. Humans appear fixated on impossible heroics and creatures of fantasy, Park dictated. Their dragons and demigods reveal a species with delusions of grandeur but limited practical intelligence. While they show remarkable creativity, their obsession with mythological thinking suggests they will remain bound by superstition for many generations to come. Recommend continued observation status with minimal contact for at least another millennium. Park submitted his report without a second thought. The asterisk Eternal Curiosity asterisk departed Earth orbit the next morning, leaving humanity to its slow, unremarkable development, or so the Concordat believed. 200 years passed. Elder diplomat Butik was enjoying a quiet meal in the grand hall of the Concordat Security Council when the alarms began. Red lights pulsed along the curved walls of the chamber. Council members of various species rose from their seats in confusion. "What is happening?" demanded Butik, his wide, compound eyes reflecting the flashing lights. The security chief, a tall, insectoid being, hurried to his side. Unidentified vessels have appeared at the edge of the core systems. 17 ships of unknown design. Pirates? Outcasts? Asked Butik. No, Elder. The security chief hesitated. They claim to be from Earth. Butik dropped his eating utensil. Impossible, he whispered. They were supposed to remain planet-bound for at least another millennium. But the impossible had become reality. On the main viewing screen that dominated the chamber wall, the 17 sleek, gleaming vessels of Earth's first interstellar fleet hung in perfect formation. Their design was unlike anything in the Concordat database, smooth, almost organic curves blended with geometric precision. Propulsion systems that defied current understanding. Weapons ports that hinted at technologies no developing world should possess. In the command chair of the flagship Dauntless Fleet Admiral Kim Haina surveyed the alien station growing larger on her view screen. The first human to lead an expedition beyond the solar system, she felt the weight of history pressing down on her shoulders. Years of secret development, decades of reverse engineering the alien probe they had captured, generations of unified human effort had led to this moment. "They're hailing us, Admiral," reported her communications officer. Kim nodded. On screen, the face that appeared was distinctly non-human, a being with bluish skin, 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern, and no visible nose. "Unknown vessels, you have entered Concordat space without authorization. Identify yourselves immediately." Kim stood, her uniform crisp despite the 6-month journey from Earth. "I am Fleet Admiral Kim Hana of the United Earth Fleet. We come seeking diplomatic relations with the Galactic Concordat." The alien's 4 eyes blinked rapidly in what Kim's technology experts suggested was extreme surprise. "Earth is a protectorate world, incapable of interstellar travel," the being replied. Kim allowed herself a small smile. "As you can see, that assessment was incorrect. We request permission to dock and establish formal contact." Hours later, Commander Lee Sung-min stood beside Admiral Kim in the grand meeting chamber of the Concordat station. Representatives of species humans had never imagined possible filled the tiered seating around them, some with too many limbs, others with none at all. Beings of crystal, of gas contained in mechanical suits, of living metal. Lee could feel their stares, their whispers. He maintained his posture, back straight, hands clasped behind him. The first impression humanity made today would echo through history. "The Security Council will see the Earth delegation now," announced a mechanical voice. Admiral Kim stepped forward, but Lee placed a gentle hand on her arm. "Allow me, Admiral. This first meeting should be handled with particular care." Kim nodded, recognizing Lee's diplomatic expertise would be crucial here. Lee stepped to the center of the chamber, feeling thousands of alien eyes upon him. He had rehearsed this moment countless times during the long journey. "Esteemed representatives of the Concordat," he began, his voice steady and clear. "The United Earth Fleet comes in peace, though we are prepared for any outcome." He could see the ripple of reaction to his words. The implied strength behind the peaceful greeting was not lost on the gathered aliens. "For centuries, you have watched our world from afar, categorizing us as primitive, studying us like specimens. Today, we stand before you not as curiosities, but as equals." The council chamber erupted in protests and exclamations. The lead counselor, Elder Batik, raised his hands for silence. "How did you achieve this level of technology?" Batik demanded. "Our assessments were flawed," Lee finished politely but firmly. "Humanity has always defied expectations. The same imagination you dismissed as primitive fantasy drove us to reach for the stars. The legends you mocked inspired the engineers who built our ships." Behind Lee, through the vast viewport of the chamber, the sleek warships of humanity's armada gleamed against the starfield, their designs unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. Each vessel bore the name of a figure from Earth's mythology. Asterisk Hercules asterisk. Asterisk Athena asterisk. Asterisk Thor asterisk. Asterisk Amaterasu asterisk. The very legends that Park Ji-ho had once dismissed as evidence of human limitation. The age of humanity had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same. The sun rose over the hills of New Eden, casting long shadows across the first human colony established beyond Earth's solar system. Farmers tended their fields while children played in the streets of the small settlement. 6 months had passed since humanity had shocked the Galactic Concordat with their unexpected arrival, and life on the frontier was beginning to feel normal. Nobody noticed the dark shapes descending through the clouds until it was too late. Raiders. The warning came too late as plasma fire rained down on the outskirts of the colony. Prefabricated homes erupted in flame. Civilians ran for the central bunker as the settlement's modest defense force scrambled to respond. From his command ship in orbit, Warlord Kai watched the attack with 6 eyes blinking in sequence, a sign of pleasure among his species. His gray, leathery skin stretched across his face as he smiled. "These humans have annoyed the Concordat enough," he said to his lieutenants. "They need to learn their place in the galaxy. Take what we need and burn the rest." Fig was not officially part of the Concordat. His band of raiders operated in the lawless regions between established territories, preying on weaker colonies. The unexpected emergence of humans onto the galactic stage had created opportunity. Their settlements would be primitive, their defenses weak. Sai had not bothered to read the intelligence reports about Earth's unexpected technological leap. It would prove a fatal mistake. Aboard the United Earth ship Defiance alarms blared through the corridors. Colonel Jiang Tawu rushed onto the bridge, securing his uniform jacket as he moved. "Status report," he demanded, dropping into the command chair. "Raiders attacking New Eden Colony, sir," his second officer reported. "We count 7 assault ships and 1 command vessel. They've already hit the eastern sector." Jiang's expression hardened. The Defiance had been assigned to patrol this sector precisely because the Concordat had warned Earth about raiders like Exoic, but they had struck faster than expected. "How long until we reach the colony?" 17 minutes at maximum burn, sir." "Make it 12, Jiang ordered. "And alert the Marine detachment. We're going to teach these raiders a lesson about humanity." On the colony surface, the situation deteriorated rapidly. The settlement's small security team fought bravely, but was outmatched by the raiders' superior numbers and weaponry. In the command center, Defense Captain Ryu checked his ammunition and prepared for what seemed like a final stand. Then, a voice crackled over the emergency channel. "New Eden Command, this is UES Defiance *. Hold position. Reinforcements arriving in 7 minutes." A flash of hope crossed Captain Ryu's face. "We'll try, Defiance *, but we're nearly overrun at the mountain pass. If they break through there, they'll reach the civilian bunker." On the bridge of the Defiance *, Colonel Jiang heard the transmission and made a quick decision. "Deploy the drop pods. Get our Marines down there now." Within moments, 30 metal cylinders shot from the Defiance *''s launch bay, streaking through the atmosphere toward the colony below. Inside each pod, a Marine in powered combat armor braced for impact. Sergeant Yum Jai-yun checked her systems one final time as her pod hurtled toward the surface. At 28, she was a veteran of Earth's unification wars and one of the first volunteers for the Space Marines. The powered armor encasing her body enhanced her natural strength tenfold. "Remember your training," she told her squad over the comm. "These raiders think we're easy prey. Let's show them how humans fight." Her pod slammed into the rocky ground near the mountain pass, the door blasting outward. Yum emerged, rifle raised, assessing the situation in seconds. The colony defenders were pinned down behind makeshift barriers, while at least 50 raiders advanced on their position. "Defensive formation," she ordered. "Hold the pass at all costs." What happened next would become the stuff of legend in the Concordat records. The human Marines moved with speed and coordination that seemed impossible for their size. Their powered armor, designed to enhance natural human abilities, allowed them to leap great distances, lift massive objects, and withstand firepower that should have killed them instantly. Yun positioned herself at the narrowest point of the pass. When a group of raiders charged her position, she met them head-on. Her enhanced strength allowed her to hurl a boulder that crushed 3 attackers. When her rifle ammunition depleted, she drew a combat blade and fought in close quarters, the armor's systems amplifying her trained movements to superhuman levels. "Fall back and regroup," the raider commander ordered, shocked by the unexpected resistance. Yun didn't give them the chance. She charged forward, crossing ground too quickly for the raiders to establish a defensive line. Her armor's jump jets carried her 20 meters into the air before she crashed down among them, the impact throwing several raiders off their feet. In orbit, Colonel Jiang watched through the Marines' helmet cameras, coordinating the counterattack. "All units converge on the settlement center," he ordered. "Protect the civilian bunker. Then, into a separate channel, activate the Hercules protocol." The effect was immediate. Throughout the battlefield, the Marines' armor systems shifted configuration. Power rerouted from non-essential systems to strength and speed enhancements. Warning lights flashed inside each helmet. The protocol could only be maintained for minutes before risking system failure or operator injury. But those minutes were enough. Watching from a nearby ridge, a Concordat observer named Talix recorded everything. He had been assigned to monitor the human settlement, part of the Concordat's ongoing assessment of this surprising new species. What he witnessed left him shaken. A single human Marine, Sergeant Yoon, held the mountain pass against overwhelming odds. She moved with impossible speed, her armor allowing her to punch through the metal plating of raider vehicles. When a support beam collapsed, threatening to crush trapped civilians, she caught and held it aloft while they escaped. When surrounded by enemies, she fought with a ferocity that reminded Talix of ancient warrior legends from a dozen worlds. The tide turned quickly. The raiders, expecting easy pickings, instead found themselves facing an enemy unlike any they had encountered. Within an hour, 3 raider ships had been destroyed, and the others were retreating. Warlord Psyche, watching his forces being decimated, ordered a full withdrawal. As his ship accelerated away from the planet, he stared at the recording of the battle, focusing on the image of Sergeant Yoon standing atop a disabled raider tank, her armor scorched but intact. "What are these creatures?" he whispered. 3 days later, Admiral Kim Hanna stood before the Galactic Council, the recording of the battle playing on screens around the chamber. The council members watched in silence as human Marines performed feats that seemed to defy physics. "Is this recording altered?" asked one council member. "It is not," replied Talix, the Concordat observer. "I witnessed it personally. They fight like they're myths," he reported, his voice still shaken by what he had seen. "It's as if they've designed their technology to fulfill their ancient legends." Admiral Kim waited for the murmurs to subside before speaking. "The powered armor our Marines wear is designed to enhance natural human capabilities," she explained. "The Hercules Protocol, named after an ancient Earth legend of strength, simply pushes those enhancements to their limit for short periods." "This level of military technology," began Elder Batik, "was developed for defense," Kim interrupted firmly. "Warlord Exig attacked a peaceful settlement. We responded appropriately." She looked around the chamber, meeting the gaze of each council member in turn. "We wish only peaceful coexistence," she stated, her voice calm but unyielding. "But we will defend our people. Remember that before you test our resolve again." The unspoken message was clear. The attack, while not ordered by the Concordat, had not been prevented either. Some suspected certain council factions had deliberately looked the other way, hoping to teach the upstart humans a lesson in galactic politics. Instead, the galaxy had learned something else entirely. The creatures from Earth were far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. Director Choi Do-hyun stood at the main viewport of Proxima Station, his hands clasped tightly behind his back. The massive space station, humanity's first major outpost beyond the solar system, hung in orbit around Proxima Centauri. Through the reinforced glass, he watched as tiny points of light winked into existence against the black of space. One by one, then in groups, the lights appeared until they filled his view. "They're coming," he announced to the command staff behind him. His voice remained steadied, despite the fear gripping his chest. 300 warships against our 17. Lieutenant Park looked up from her console, face pale. "The Vrexians." Choi nodded. The Vrexians, tall, angular beings with reflective skin and religious devotion to the established order of the galaxy, had been the most vocal opponents of humanity's rapid expansion. For 2 years, they had called humanity a disease, a corruption that needed to be contained. Now, they had come to make good on their threats. "Send the emergency signal to Earth," Choi ordered, "and begin evacuation of all non-essential personnel." The station's alarms blared to life. Throughout the massive structure, 5,000 human colonists, scientists, and support staff rushed to prepare. Some headed for emergency shelters, while others made their way to evacuation ships. In the Defensive Control Center, Commander Yoon Jae-yun, recently promoted after her heroic stand on New Eden, assessed their options. "We have defensive batteries and a small fighter squadron," she reported. "Maybe enough to hold them off for 24 hours. "We need 30, Choi replied. Far across the galaxy, Admiral Kim had now received the distress call while meeting with Concordat diplomats. Without a word, She rose from the table and left, ignoring the protests of the alien representatives. Within minutes, her flagship, the UES Valiant broke orbit. All available ships in the human fleet received emergency recall orders. 17 ships. That was all humanity could muster on such short notice. Against 300 Vrexian warships, it seemed like madness to even attempt a defense. But Kim had no intention of abandoning Proxima Station. As her small fleet prepared for emergency FTL jump, Kim called her captains together via holographic conference. "The Vrexians expect us to surrender or die," she told them. "We will do neither. Instead, we will show them why humanity's legends speak of the impossible." Captain Hong Min-soo of the UES Dragon nodded grimly. His ship, like the others in Dragon Squadron, had been built according to speculative designs that pushed the boundaries of physics. The Dragon Phoenix Kraken and Griffin were faster and more maneuverable than any ships in the galaxy, but they had never been tested in full combat. "We'll be ready, Admiral," Hong promised. Back at Proxima Station, the first wave of attacks had begun. Vrexian cruisers launched precision strikes against the station's outer defenses. Commander Yoon directed the defense with calm efficiency, but each passing hour saw their situation grow more desperate. "Auxiliary power failing in sectors 7 through 12, reported a junior officer. "Reroute from life support in the evacuated sections," Yoon ordered. On the main bridge, Director Choi received a communication from the Vrexian commander, a tall, silvery being whose face filled the screen. "Your resistance is pointless," the Vrexian stated. "Surrender now and your people will be transported back to your homeworld, where you belong." "We belong among the stars," Choi replied firmly, "and we will not surrender." The Vrexian's face showed no emotion. "Then you will be destroyed as an example. The human infection must be contained." The screen went dark. Moments later, a new barrage rocked the station. 29 hours into the siege, with oxygen levels falling and defenses nearly depleted, a technician looked up from her console with widening eyes. "Director, multiple FTL signatures detected on approach." Choi rushed to the display. "Human or Vrexian?" "Human, sir. It's Admiral Kim's fleet." A cheer went up around the command center. But Choi's expression remained grim. 17 ships against 300. It wasn't a rescue. It was a last stand. Aboard the UES Valiant Admiral Kim studied the tactical display. The Vrexian fleet had arranged itself in a spherical formation around Proxima Station, a standard approach designed to prevent any escape. "Conventional tactics won't work here," she said to her bridge crew. "We're outnumbered and outgunned." Her tactical officer, a young lieutenant, looked up. "Then what do we do, Admiral?" Kim's lips curved into a slight smile. "We change the rules. Signal Dragon Squadron. Tell Captain Hong to prepare the Chimera maneuver." The order raised eyebrows among her senior staff. The Chimera maneuver existed only in theory, a complex, coordinated assault pattern that required ships to perform maneuvers considered physically impossible by most engineers. It had never been attempted outside simulations, and even there, it had resulted in the destruction of the attacking fleet more often than not. Captain Hong Min-soo received the order while his ship, the UES Dragon prepared to exit FTL on the far side of the Vrexian formation. "Chimera maneuver confirmed," he replied. Then to his crew, "Battle stations. Divert all non-essential power to structural integrity fields and engines." His second officer looked up with concern. "Captain, the stress on the hull will exceed safety parameters by 300%. Hong nodded. "I know." As Earth's small fleet appeared at different points around the Vrexian armada, confusion rippled through the enemy ranks. The human ships had arrived separately, seemingly without coordination, in a pattern that made no tactical sense. The Vrexian commander laughed. "They've scattered their forces. Destroy them one by one." But Admiral Kim had planned for this reaction. As the Vrexian ships moved to engage her apparently disorganized fleet, she gave the final command. Execute Chimera maneuver. Now, what followed defied the expectations of every observer. The 4 ships of Dragon Squadron. Dragon Phoenix Kraken and Griffin suddenly accelerated to speeds that should have torn them apart. They curved through space in tight patterns, their hulls glowing from the strain as they executed turns no ship should have survived. Aboard the Dragon warning alarms blared continuously. Lights flickered as power surged through overtaxed systems. The ship groaned like a living thing in pain. Hull integrity at critical levels, reported his engineer. Captain Hong gripped his command chair tightly. Hold course, he ordered. Then, to steady his crew. We make our own legends now. The Dragon dove directly into the heart of the Vrexian formation, drawing dozens of enemy ships to follow it. Meanwhile, the Phoenix executed a spiral pattern through another section of the enemy fleet, causing Vrexian captains to fire on their own vessels in confusion. The Kraken deployed specialized countermeasures that created multiple false sensor images, while the Griffin used precise strikes to disable command ships. The coordinated pattern, impossible to predict because it defied conventional physics, threw the ordered Vrexian fleet into chaos. From Proxima Station, Director Choi and his staff watched in amazement. "They're doing it," whispered Commander Yoon. "They're actually doing it." The Vrexian fleet, designed to operate in perfect harmony, fell into disarray. Ships collided as they tried to track targets moving in ways their tactical computers couldn't predict. Communication broke down between vessel groups as Dragon Squadron's electronic warfare systems created false commands and contradictory orders. Admiral Kim, seeing the confusion, ordered the rest of her fleet to strike at key weak points in the Vrexian formation. The human ships moved with precision, targeting propulsion systems and weapons arrays rather than attempting to destroy the enemy vessels outright. 3 hours later, it was over. 67 Vrexian ships had been destroyed, not by direct attack, but by collisions and friendly fire in the chaos. Another 112 were disabled, floating helplessly in space. The remainder had retreated, their formation shattered, their confidence broken. Captain Hong's Dragon limped back to Proxima Station, its hull scared and systems barely functioning. But it had survived the impossible maneuver, as had the other ships of Dragon Squadron. As Hong stepped onto the station, Director Choi was waiting to greet him. "How?" Choi asked simply. "How did you do it?" Hong smiled tiredly. "We studied our own legends, the impossible feats our ancestors claimed heroes could perform. Then we designed ships that could make those legends real." News of the battle spread quickly throughout the galaxy. Concordat observers, who had watched from a distance, filed reports that many of their superiors initially refused to believe. 3 days later, in the Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council, Admiral Kim stood once more before the assembled representatives of the galaxy's major species. "The Vrexians attacked a peaceful station without provocation," she stated. "They sought to contain what they called the human infection. Instead, they learned that humanity cannot be contained." The council chamber remained silent, the usual murmurs of discussion absent. The implications of what had happened at Proxima Station were still sinking in. "For centuries, your anthropologists studied our myths and legends," Kim continued. "You dismissed them as primitive fantasies, but you failed to understand their true purpose. They weren't just stories. They were aspirations, blueprints for what we could become." She paused, looking around the chamber. "Remember that before you test us again." As Kim left the chamber, the council erupted into urgent discussion. The galaxy had witnessed something unprecedented, a species that could turn its myths into reality through sheer will and ingenuity. The established order would never be the same. The gleaming halls of the Concordat Central Embassy were usually filled with the gentle hum of diplomatic conversation. Today, they echoed with screams and the thunder of running feet. Ambassador Kang Junho had just finished addressing the Trade Council when the attack came. A servant, or what appeared to be one, approached with a tray of drinks. No one noticed the slight shimmer around the being's wrist until it was too late. The hidden needle pierced Ambassador Kang's neck as he reached for a glass. Kang collapsed instantly, his body convulsing as the toxin spread through his system. His security team moved quickly, but the assassin had already activated some kind of transportation device and vanished. "Get a medical team," shouted Kang's chief of staff, pressing her hands against the wound on his neck. News of the assassination attempt spread through the diplomatic community like wildfire. Ambassador Kang was the public face of humanity among the stars, respected even by those who feared Earth's rapid rise to power. The attack on him was not just an attack on one man. It was a direct challenge to humanity's place in the galaxy. In her quarters aboard the UES Valiant Admiral Kim Hana received the news with outward calm. Inside, rage and fear battled for control. Kang was not just a colleague but an old friend. They had trained together in the early days of humanity's space program. "His condition?" she asked the messenger. "Critical but stable, Admiral. The toxin appears designed specifically for human biology." Kim's eyes narrowed. That suggests inside knowledge and significant planning. She turned to her communications officer. "Secure channel to Earth High Command. Priority Alpha." When the connection was established, Kim faced the stern expressions of Earth's military leadership on her screen. "Ambassador Kang has been attacked," she reported. "I believe this is part of a coordinated effort to undermine humanity's position." The defense minister's face remained impassive. "Do you have proof?" "Not yet. But this follows too closely after the Proxima station siege. Someone is testing us, probing for weaknesses." After a moment of heavy silence, the defense minister spoke again. "What do you recommend, Admiral?" Kim took a deep breath. What she was about to propose had never been seriously considered outside theoretical discussions. "Phoenix Protocol," she said finally. The faces on the screen showed various degrees of shock. The Phoenix Protocol was humanity's most classified contingency plan, developed in secret during the early days of First Contact. "That's extreme," said one general. "We're facing an extreme situation," Kim replied. "If we don't act now, we may not get another chance." After 30 minutes of debate, the leadership reached consensus. The defense minister looked grimly at Kim through the screen. "Phoenix Protocol authorized," he confirmed. "May the gods of our ancestors watch over us all." The transmission ended. Admiral Kim sat alone for a moment, the weight of what had just been said in motion pressing down on her shoulders. Then she opened a secure channel to all human military vessels. "This is Admiral Kim. Phoenix Protocol authorized. I repeat, Phoenix Protocol authorized. This is not a drill." Across human space, hidden systems activated. In the asteroid belt of Sol, massive doors slid open on what had appeared to be ordinary mining operations, revealing shipyards that had been operating in secret for years. On Mars, underground facilities began producing weapons and defense systems at maximum capacity. Throughout Earth's colonies, reserve military personnel received activation codes. Within 12 hours, rumors began to spread through the Concordat. Something was happening in human space: unusual ship movements, communication blackouts, diplomatic missions suddenly postponed. In the medical wing of the Concordat Embassy, Ambassador Kang fought for his life. The toxin had been specifically engineered to attack human DNA, breaking down cellular structures in ways that baffled alien doctors. Only the quick action of his security team and the experimental medical equipment they carried had kept him alive. Science Director Ba Sujai stood at Kang's bedside, studying the readouts on her portable scanner. "This toxin," she told the small group of human officials gathered in the room, "isn't just tailored to humans. It's designed to attack specific genetic markers that are unique to our species. How is that possible? Asked a colonial representative. Our genetic database is highly protected. Ba's expression was grave. That's what we need to find out. While Ambassador Kang clung to life, Admiral Kim called an emergency meeting with the allied species who had supported humanity after the Proxima Station incident. Representatives from 7 non-Concordat worlds gathered in a secure meeting room aboard the Valiant Asterisk. Thank you for coming, Kim began. What I'm about to share is classified at the highest level. She nodded to Science Director Ba, who had arrived from the Concordat medical facility hours earlier. Ba stepped forward, activating a holographic display. 20 years ago, before our first contact with the Concordat, we discovered something in the ancient precursor ruins on Mars. The display showed images of a vast underground complex, clearly not of human design. The architecture featured sweeping curves and materials that seemed to shift color as the camera moved. The precursors visited our solar system approximately 50,000 years ago, Ba continued. Among their ruins, we found this. The hologram changed to show a DNA helix, but with structures that no one in the room had seen before. This is human DNA, Ba explained, but with specific modifications. Our research indicates that early humans were subjected to genetic experiments by the precursors. These modifications appear designed to enhance certain capabilities, strength, endurance, cognitive processing, but most remain dormant in our genetic code. The alien representatives murmured among themselves. What does this have to do with the assassination attempt? Asked the delegate from Taurus Prime. The toxin used against Ambassador Kang was designed to target these specific genetic markers, they replied. Only someone with intimate knowledge of the precursor modifications could have created it. Admiral Kim stepped forward again, which means someone knows more about humanity's origins than we do. She activated another display, showing communication records between various elder race representatives of the Concordat. Our intelligence units have been monitoring Concordat communications since the Proxima Station incident. What we found suggests a conspiracy among certain elder races to contain humanity's growth by any means necessary. The record showed encoded messages between high-ranking officials, including the Vrexian Supreme Commander who had ordered the attack on Proxima Station. But why? Asked the Taurus Prime delegate. What threat do humans pose that would justify such actions? Ba changed the display once more, showing ancient text recovered from the Mars ruins. We believe it's because of this. It's a prophecy of sorts, written in precursor language. Those who embody their myths will inherit the stars. She paused to let the words sink in. The precursors engineered something into our ancestors, potential that would remain dormant until we reached a certain level of development. Our myths and legends, the stories of gods and heroes performing impossible feats, they aren't just fantasies. They're fragmented memories of what we once were, and clues to what we could become. The room fell silent as the implications became clear. The elder races fear us, Admiral Kim said simply, not for what we are, but for what we might become. 3 days later, the Concordat Grand Council convened an emergency session. Rumors had spread throughout the galaxy about human fleet movements and secret military installations. Fear and speculation ran rampant. The session had barely begun when Admiral Kim entered the chamber unexpectedly, flanked by armed Marines. Behind her came Science Director Ba, pushing Ambassador Kang in a hover chair. Though pale and weakened, the ambassador was very much alive. What is the meaning of this interruption? Demanded the Concordat High Chancellor. Justice, Kim replied simply. She nodded to her communications officer, who activated the chamber's main display screen. Before the assembled representatives of the galaxy's most powerful species, evidence of the conspiracy unfolded. Intercepted communications, financial transactions, military orders. At the center of it all stood the Vrexian Supreme Commander and representatives from 4 other elder races. You engineered a crisis, Kim stated, her voice carrying throughout the chamber, because you fear what humanity might become. The Vrexian Supreme Commander rose from his seat, his reflective skin flashing with anger. You have no idea what forces you're tampering with. The precursors didn't elevate your species. They weaponized you. A murmur ran through the chamber. Ambassador Kang, still weak but determined, guided his hover chair forward. We came to the stars in peace, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. We still desire peace, but we will not be contained, and we will not be controlled. The Phoenix Protocol has been activated, Admiral Kim added. Humanity is prepared for whatever comes next, be it war or reconciliation. The choice now lies with the Concordat. As Kim and her group departed, they left behind a council in disarray, the established order of millennia suddenly uncertain. The Phoenix Protocol, humanity's emergence from the ashes of attempted destruction, had changed the galaxy forever. The stars of the galactic core blazed against the blackness of space, thousands of times more numerous than in the outer regions. In this ancient heart of the galaxy, the final confrontation between humanity and the coalition of elder races would be decided. Admiral Kim Hanna stood on the bridge of her flagship, the newly commissioned UES Phoenix *. Around her, the bridge crew worked with quiet efficiency. Through the main viewport, she could see the assembled human fleet, 170 ships of various classes, the full might of Earth's expanded navy. It should have been an impressive sight. But against the 500 warships of the Elder Race Coalition, it seemed painfully small. Enemy fleet approaching weapons range. Admiral, reported her tactical officer. Kim nodded. In the 3 months since the conspiracy had been exposed, the galaxy had divided itself. Most species remained neutral, unwilling to take sides. Some younger races had allied with humanity. But the elder races, those who had ruled the Concordat for millennia, had chosen war. All ships, battle formation, Kim ordered. Prepare to execute formation Thermopylae on my mark. The name had been chosen deliberately. In ancient Earth history, at a narrow mountain pass called Thermopylae, a small force of Greek warriors had held off a vastly larger Persian army. Though they had ultimately fallen, their stand had become legendary. Kim hoped humanity's stand would have a different ending. On the enemy flagship, the Vrexian Supreme Commander watched the human fleet with contempt. They positioned themselves with the pulsar at their backs. He noted to his officers, a primitive tactic. The radiation will interfere with their sensors as much as ours. His second-in-command was less dismissive. Supreme Commander, remember Proxima Station. The humans are unpredictable. They were lucky at Proxima. The commander replied. Luck doesn't win wars. Aboard the Phoenix *, Admiral Kim received a transmission from Commander Oh Gunwoo, leader of Earth's Special Forces. Boarding teams ready. Admiral Oh reported. His face on the screen showed calm determination. At 45, Oh was a veteran of Earth's unification wars and had personally led the defense during the siege of Proxima Station. Hold position until the enemy formation breaks, Kim instructed. Then target their command ships. Oh nodded. We won't fail you, Admiral. The distance between the fleets shrank rapidly, at 500,000 kilometers. Point-blank range in space combat. The Elder Race Coalition opened fire. Beams of energy and swarms of missiles crossed the void. Execute formation Thermopylae, Kim ordered. What followed seemed to defy the laws of physics. The human fleet, instead of scattering or taking defensive positions, accelerated directly toward the enemy formation. But not as a single mass. Each ship followed precise, seemingly random trajectories that created a three-dimensional pattern of movement. The majority of the coalition's first volley missed its targets entirely. Human ships appeared where they shouldn't be, moved at speeds that strained their structural limits, executed turns that should have torn them apart. Impossible, whispered the Vrexian commander as he watched his carefully planned attack fall into disarray. But this was only the beginning. As the human fleet penetrated the coalition formation, smaller craft launched from their base. Boarding shuttles, each carrying a team of Special Forces soldiers, slipped through the chaos of battle toward specific targets. Commander O's shuttle headed for the Phyrexian flagship itself. As his team approached, automated defenses tracked and fired on them. Evasive pattern of kills, O ordered his pilot. The shuttle spun and dove, moving with agility that belied its bulk. Within minutes, they had reached the Phyrexian vessel's hull. Magnetic clamps engaged, and O led his team through the airlock. What followed would later be described by surviving Phyrexian crew members as mythological. The human special forces, wearing the latest generation of powered armor, moved through the ship with speed and precision that seemed superhuman. Where resistance was heaviest, O himself led the charge, his enhanced strength allowing him to tear through sealed doors, and his reflexes letting him dodge energy blasts that should have been impossible to avoid. Across the battlefield, similar scenes played out on dozens of coalition vessels. Human boarding teams disrupted communications, disabled weapon systems, and sowed confusion throughout the enemy fleet. But the elder races had not ruled the galaxy for millennia without reason. Their numbers began to tell as the battle stretched into its second hour. One by one, human ships succumbed to concentrated fire. The elegant pattern of formation Thermopylae began to break down as damaged vessels fell out of position. On the bridge of the Phoenix *, Admiral Kim received damage reports from across her fleet. "We've lost 37 ships," her second officer reported grimly. Another 22 reporting critical damage. Kim's expression remained calm, though inside she felt the weight of each loss. Maintain formation. Direct Commander O to accelerate his timeline. Before her officer could acknowledge the order, the ship rocked violently. Emergency alarms blared as smoke filled the bridge. "Direct hit to our main reactor," reported the engineering officer, voice strained. "Power failing. Hull integrity compromised in sections 12 through 29. Kim steadied herself against her command chair. "Casualties. Hundreds, Admiral. Maybe more." Through the viewport, now cracked and clouded with smoke, Kim could see the battle turning against them. Despite their innovative tactics and the success of the boarding teams, the human fleet was being overwhelmed by sheer numbers. The Phyrexian commander, having abandoned his flagship after Commander O's team penetrated too deeply, directed the battle from a secondary vessel. "The human flagship is crippled," one of his officers reported. "Shall we offer terms of surrender?" The commander's reflective skin rippled with satisfaction. "No. Destroy them all. Make an example that the galaxy will remember for millennia." Aboard the dying Phoenix *, Admiral Kim made her decision. She opened a channel to her entire fleet. "This is Admiral Kim. All ships, execute emergency jump to fallback coordinates." Then, on a secure channel to her engineering chief, "Activate rebirth protocol." The engineer's eyes widened. "Admiral, it's never been tested in combat conditions." "The risk is necessary," Kim finished. "Do it." Throughout the massive flagship, emergency systems kicked into gear. Crew members rushed to designated safe zones as bulkheads sealed. In the engineering section, the chief engineer input a complex series of commands, activating systems that had been built into the Phoenix *, but never before utilized. Outside, the coalition fleet closed in for the kill. The Phyrexian commander watched with satisfaction as the human flagship, wreathed in flames and venting atmosphere, appeared to be on the verge of breaking apart. Then, something unprecedented happened. The Phoenix * erupted in what appeared to be its final destruction, a massive explosion that temporarily blinded sensors. But from the center of that fiery cloud, something began to emerge. The ship's hull, composed of experimental nanotechnology, was regenerating before the eyes of the astonished coalition forces. Sections that had been destroyed rebuilt themselves. Systems that had failed came back online, stronger than before. Just as the mythical phoenix of Earth legend rose from its own ashes, the Phoenix * was reborn. The sight sent a wave of shock through the Coalition fleet. It defied everything they understood about physics, about what was possible. In that moment of confusion, Commander O's team reached the bridge of the Phyrexian commander's new vessel. The commander turned to find himself facing O, whose powered armor had been damaged in the fighting but who stood undefeated. "Impossible," the commander whispered. O shook his head. "Not impossible, just human." The battle ended not with a final exchange of fire, but with the Phyrexian commander's surrender. The Coalition, its will to fight broken by the sight of the Phoenix rebirth and the capture of their leader, agreed to cease hostilities. 1 month later, in the Grand Hall of the reformed Concordat, newly promoted Grand Admiral Choi Do-hyun signed the peace treaty on behalf of Earth. Representatives from all spacefaring races, elder and young alike, witnessed the ceremony. "Today marks a new chapter in galactic history," Choi said. His voice carried through the hall without need of amplification. "A chapter where no race stands above others, where knowledge and cooperation replace fear and domination." He looked directly at the representatives of the elder races. "We never wanted to be conquerors. We only wished to be treated as equals." In the decades that followed, the galaxy underwent a profound transformation. The truth about the precursors and their genetic modifications of early humans became common knowledge. Many species began studying human mythology, finding in it insights about potential and possibility that their own cultures had forgotten. Some alien races even began adopting elements of human legends into their own traditions. Stories of the Phoenix, of Hercules, of the Kraken spread among the stars, not as primitive fantasies, but as aspirations, as reminders of what was possible when determination met ingenuity. 5 years after the final battle, Admiral Kim Hanna stood on the observation deck of the new Concordat headquarters. Below her, ships from 100 worlds moved in harmony through the space dock. Humans worked alongside aliens of every description, the differences between them no longer sources of fear, but of strength. A young aide approached, offering a data tablet. "The reports you requested, Admiral." Kim accepted it with a nod, but her gaze remained on the scene below. After a moment, she spoke. "When I was a child on Earth, my grandmother told me stories of dragons and heroes, of gods and monsters. I believed them with all my heart. Then I grew up, and was told they were just stories." She smiled faintly. "Now we know better." The aide looked confused. "Admiral." Kim turned to her, eyes reflecting the starlight. "We didn't just make our legends real," she explained. "We made them universal. In the vastness of space, humanity had found its true purpose, not conquest, not mere survival, but inspiration. The legends of Earth now belong to the galaxy, a gift more precious than any technology or resource. And somewhere, perhaps, the ancient precursors were watching, nodding in approval as their experiment finally bore fruit. The end.